What if the secret to a long, happy, and, really fulfilling life, the thing that makes you jump out of bed every morning, was actually rooted in a single, beautiful Japanese concept?
That's a powerful thought, isn't it?
It is. And today, we are taking a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at Ikigai, the Japanese art for finding happiness and the meaning of life, by Michael Luck.
Right.
Our mission for you, our curious listener, is, well, to boil down the most vital insights from this material, give you a solid understanding without drowning you in information.
Makes sense. Get the core ideas.
Exactly. So maybe just to start us off thinking, what is your reason for getting up in the morning?
It's a big question. And honestly, for a lot of people, it's not immediately obvious. But in Japan, this idea of ikigai is pronounced ikigai.
Ikigai, got it.
Yeah, millions really embrace it. It literally means a reason for being, or like you said, the drive to jump out of bed.
And losing that drive, that's actually detrimental.
Oh, definitely. Studies show that, a loss of motivation, it can seriously diminish your quality of life, feelings of apathy, lower well-being, maybe even a shorter lifespan. It's significant.
Wow. So where did this powerful idea come from? The source points to Okinawa, right?
That's right, the Japanese island of Okinawa. And what's really fascinating is that Okinawa has the largest population of centenarians, people living past 100 on the planet.
Okay, that's incredible. Which leads to the obvious question. Could Ikigai actually help you live longer?
Well, Dan Buettner, the guy who wrote Blue Zones about longevity hotspots,
Yeah.
he's pretty confident there's a link. He points out that even if they don't use the exact word Ikigai, in other blue zones like Sardinia or the Nicoya Peninsula, the idea is there. This strong sense of purpose, it seems crucial.
So Buettner had an early take on how we, in the West, could find our Ikigai. What was his method?
Yeah, he suggested a pretty practical approach, making 3 lists.
Okay.
First, list your qualities, what you're just naturally good at. Second, the things you genuinely love doing. And third, things that are, let's say, acceptable to you. Things that align with your values or maybe help sustain you somehow.
Right.
And the cross-section, where those 3 overlap, that he suggested could be your Ikigai. Kind of reminds me of Joseph Campbell, the mythologist.
Oh, yeah, follow your bliss.
Exactly. Find where it is, don't hesitate, go after it. Similar vibe.
That connection to just pure fulfillment seems key. Héctor García, he co-authored Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life.
He talks about it too, right?
He does. He describes Ikigai as being at the crossroads of what you're good at and what you love to do.
Okay.
And he noticed, that just chasing wealth, it often leaves people feeling kind of disappointed, empty.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
So people then start searching for something more, like a deeper sense of purpose in their everyday life, something beyond just the money.
Which brings us to that diagram. The 4 circles everyone seems to associate with Ikigai now.
Ah, yes, the famous Venn diagram. It's become really popular in the West. It visually combines 4 things.
Let's break it down. Okay, so you've got what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, and, crucially for this popular version, what you can get paid for.
Right, and the idea is if you find that sweet spot in the middle where they all overlap...
That's your Ikigai. And the promise is that finding it brings satisfaction, happiness, maybe even a longer life.
So, beyond just understanding the concept or the diagram, are there practical things like habits that guide people?
Definitely. Garcia and his co-author, Francesc Miralles, they actually lay out 10 practical guidelines.
10 rules. Like what?
Well, things like staying active, but also taking things slower, adopting a slower pace.
Yeah.
Eating mindfully, like stopping when you're 80% full.
The Harahachi-bu thing. We'll probably get into that later.
Exactly. Also, surrounding yourself with good friends, gentle exercise, smiling more, reconnecting with nature.
Sounds like a recipe for a good life, generally.
It really does. Plus, expressing gratitude, living in the moment, and of course, always following your Ikigai. It's a whole lifestyle approach.
That idea of living it daily really clicks. It reminds me of what Howard Thurman said.
The civil rights pioneer.
Yeah. He said something like, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive.
That's powerful. And it ties into Einstein too, right? He encouraged pursuing interest, saying interest is your explanation.
Yeah. The source uses Steve Jobs as an example. His early interest in typography seemed kind of useless at the time.
Right, calligraphy classes.
But it ended up being fundamental to Apple's whole design philosophy. It shows how following a deep interest can lead somewhere amazing, even if you don't see it at first.
It really does. But, we need to talk about that 4-circle diagram again. There's a bit of a twist there.
Oh, What's the twist?
Well, the truth is, that diagram that's so widely known in the West, it wasn't originally
Oh,
Japanese.
wait, really?
Yeah, it was actually created by a guy named Mark Wynn back in 2014. He was quite open about it. He basically remixed two existing ideas.
Remix, what ideas?
One was a purpose Venn diagram by someone called Andre Suzunaga, and the other was Dan Buettner's concepts about longevity and purpose from the Blue Zones.
Wow, okay, so it's a modern Western interpretation, not an ancient Japanese secret diagram. That's a pretty significant detail.
It is, and it's actually quite similar in structure to Jim Collins' hedgehog concept, from good to great, just adapted for individuals.
Huh. It really does seem like, as the source says, everything is a remix of something else.
Pretty much. And this leads us nicely into tackling three, let's call them big myths or misconceptions about Ikigai that are common in the West.
Okay, let's clear those up. What's the first one?
The first is that Ikigai isn't primarily about work or money.
That seems counterintuitive, especially with the get paid for circle in the diagram.
Right. But consider this. A 2010 survey in Japan found only 31% of Japanese people considered work their Ikigai.
Only 31%.
Yeah, compare that to the US, where something like 51% of people link their identity strongly to their jobs. For many Japanese people, Ikigai might be family, a hobby, a dream, or just that general spiritual feeling that life is worth living.
That makes sense. I think Oprah Winfrey said something similar, like, your purpose doesn't have to be your job. Motherhood could be your purpose.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. And that's why that paid-for circle gets critiqued as a Western distortion. In Japan, finding Ikigai is often seen as a much slower, more personal journey. It's not necessarily tied to income. It's more about those spontaneous things you just do, that mental space where you feel completely at ease, not a compulsory job.
Okay, so not always about work or money. What's the second misconception?
The second is that Ikigai isn't some huge, complex, all-or-nothing life purpose.
Ah, so it doesn't have to be this massive, world-changing thing.
Not at all. Gordon Matthews, an anthropologist, put it really well. He said, Ikigai isn't something amazing or remarkable. It's something quite matter-of-factly.
Matter-of-factly. I like that.
Yeah. And Héctor García adds, clear away the clutter, and at the center is your Ikigai. It's less about finding some grand final destination and more about the process. There's this concept, chantosuru.
Chantosuru.
It means doing things properly, with care, focusing on the quality of the journey, not just the end goal.
That really takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Like, you don't have to find the one big thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which leads to the third misconception. You can have more than one Ikigai.
Oh, okay. So it's not static.
Not at all. The source is clear. Ikigai grows and changes throughout life. People can absolutely change their life purpose at any age. And many people actually have several different Ikigai over their lifetime.
That's really freeing. So if it's not just one big thing, and it can change, how do you actually find your Ikigai? Or maybe Ikigais?
Well, the source material does suggest a specific method. It involves self-reflection, guided by 4 core questions. Journaling can be really helpful here.
Okay, let's dive into those questions. What's the first one?
The first is, what you love. Simple, but deep. What genuinely fascinates you? What makes you curious? What pulls you in?
So, thinking about what you'd do just for the joy of it, even if there was no money involved.
Precisely. How would you choose to spend a completely free weekend or a long vacation? What truly makes you feel alive?
Okay, what you love. What's next?
Second question, what the world needs. This shifts the focus outward. What contribution could you make to your community, your family, society?
So thinking about problems you'd want to help solve, or needs you see around you.
Exactly. Or even, are people willing to invest time or resources in what you offer? Would your contribution still matter in 10 years? 100 years? It's about relevance and impact.
Makes sense. Third question.
What you are good at. This is about your natural talents, your skills, your abilities. Where do your strengths lie?
So being honest about what you genuinely excel at, compared to others, maybe?
Yeah. What do you do really well in your work or your community? And also, thinking about potential with a bit more training or experience, could you become truly excellent at this?
Right. Assessing both current skill and potential. Okay, and the fourth question.
The fourth is what you can get paid for. This is the practical side. What allows you to support yourself, whether you love it right now or not?
So have you ever been paid for this? Are other people paid for it? Could you actually make a living doing this?
Exactly. It's grounding it in reality.
And the idea is that your Ikigai lies somewhere in the middle where all 4 of these overlap and find a balance.
That's the concept from the Western diagram, yes. That sweet spot, that convergence, is said to lead to a prosperous, joyful, and long life.
But remembering, like you said, that the original Japanese idea maybe doesn't stress the paid-for part quite as much.
Right. It's really telling that only about a quarter of the Ikigai concept, traditionally, is directly about work in the paid sense. The source mentions Danielle Deneen, who found her Ikigai as a therapist.
How did she fit the model?
Well, she combined her natural listening and compassion, what she loved and was good at, with a clear world need, and found a way to get paid for it. It's about finding that intersection, even if it's not a typical 9 to 5.
So the questions are a guide, a starting point for reflection. Are there other prompts?
Yeah, a few more useful ones, like asking yourself, when do you normally feel energetic? Trying to identify those moments of flow, whether they're work-related or not.
When you lose track of time.
Exactly. Another is, what are your qualities? Thinking about traits you admire in others, maybe patience, kindness, leadership, and seeing if you possess them too. These qualities can guide how you approach things.
And you mentioned patterns earlier.
Right. The question, can you see the patterns, encourages you to look for recurring themes or activities across your life that consistently bring you joy. Since Ikigai can change, seeing those patterns helps you understand its evolution for you.
Okay. And for skills, there was a practical tip.
Yeah, a simple self-assessment. Rate skills you have on a scale of 110 for ability and 110 for how much you enjoy using them. Then add the scores. Anything above 15 is probably worth focusing on. It suggests a good mix of competence and enjoyment.
That's a neat trick. What about managing your time to make space for Ikigai?
Good point. The source suggests keeping a time log for maybe a week. See where your time actually goes. Identify the time wasters.
We all have those.
We do. And then, if your current situation doesn't align, consider if you can delegate or outsource tasks you really dislike to free up energy for more meaningful activities.
And navigating the paid-for part, if that's relevant.
Yeah, practical tips there too. Update your resume with strong action words. Use job sites like Indeed or Monster, not just to apply, but to see what skills are in demand, what the market looks like. LinkedIn is crucial for networking. That hidden job market is real.
And researching companies, too.
Absolutely. Using sites like Glassdoor to check out company culture. The source makes a great point. A job needs to suit you just as much as you need to suit them. It's about finding work that energizes you, not drains you.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the impact of finding and living your Ikigai? We touched on longevity.
Right. Let's revisit that. Dan Bietner found Okinawans have the highest life expectancy. And other research, like Robert Butler's, showed people with a strong sense of purpose, a form of Ikigai, lived about 8 years longer on average.
8 years! That's incredible.
It really underscores the idea that lifestyle, not just genetics, is the main driver of our health span and lifespan.
So having that reason to get up can literally add years to your life. And you mentioned Dr. Suzuki earlier.
Yes, Dr. Makoto Suzuki. He's a geriatrician who studied Okinawans extensively. He noted that losing one's purpose, like through unexpected retirement or job loss, can actually have a measurable negative impact on mortality.
Wow. So feeling needed, feeling engaged is vital for health and happiness. It really can, as the source says, remove the agony from Mondays.
Definitely. And interestingly, people truly living their Ikigai often don't prioritize money first. Yeah. They tend to focus on their genuine interests, what they love doing, and the financial side often follows more naturally. It shifts the focus away from that constant pressure about money.
What if someone feels completely stuck, like they're at a total crossroads? Any advice there?
The source suggests volunteering. It can be a really powerful path towards Ikigai
Oh, so?
because it takes the focus off your own problems and channels your energy into helping others. Even without getting paid, that act of service can massively boost your mood, your sense of purpose, your overall well-being.
That's a great practical step. It also feels like Ikigai is kind of an antidote to some modern trends.
You could definitely see it that way. Think about the blue zones. They're often very community-focused, heritage-rich places that contrast sharply with our increasingly screen-based, often individualistic, me-first society, sometimes fueled by social media.
Yeah, it's a different way of being.
Exactly. So Ikigai serves as this reminder, maybe, that you can have direction and purpose without it being purely self-serving. It might just be a simple step towards a more genuinely fulfilling life in today's world.
And it's not just for individuals, right? The source talks about applying this to organizations, too.
Absolutely. The same 4 components can be adapted for businesses. It's about finding an organizational purpose, an ideal balance, that drives growth and resilience.
So what questions would a business ask?
Similar questions, but framed collectively. What are we good at as an organization? What does the world need that we can offer? What do we love doing? What's our passion? And of course, what can we get paid for? How do we sustain ourselves?
And answering those helps define the company's collective Ikigai.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You can translate the individual concepts. Good at plus love, the organization's passion. Love plus world needs, its mission. Good at plus paid for, its profession. Paid for plus world needs, its vocation.
Okay, that maps it out clearly.
And when all four intersect for the organization, that's the collective Ikigai. It leads to employees who feel proud, connected, and purposeful in their work.
Can you give examples of how those components play out in successful businesses?
Sure. What you're passionate about is the guiding principle, the culture. Think Apple and innovation, or Tom's Shoes and community help, or Google and organizing information.
Right, their core driver.
What you're good at means you actually have to deliver. Passion isn't enough. You need excellence in execution. What the world needs means your product or service has to be genuinely attractive, in demand. There needs to be a real market.
And the bottom line.
What you can get paid for. You need a viable business model, generate enough profit to cover costs, and provide reasonable returns.
So successful companies find that sweet spot covering all four.
Exactly. And it's a constant balancing act, always refining. If any area is weak, it leads to problems, dissatisfaction. But when it works, when that progress feels meaningful, it creates real importance and impact.
This is fascinating. But Ikigai isn't just philosophy or work, it's deeply tied to lifestyle too, especially in Okinawa. Let's talk about the diet.
Oh yes, the Okinawa diet is considered a huge factor in their longevity. Dr. Suzuki's studies really highlight this. It's quite remarkable.
What makes it so special?
Well, first, variety. They eat an incredible range of foods, maybe 206 different items over a year, averaging about 18 different types daily.
Wow, 18 types a day.
Yeah, and a huge emphasis on fruits and vegetables, at least 5 to 7 servings daily, really eating the rainbow. Staples include vegetables, potatoes, and especially soy products, which make up over 30% of their calories.
What about grains and sugar?
Grains, particularly white rice, are a foundation, eaten daily. But sugar is rare. If they use sweetener, it's typically unprocessed cane sugar.
And protein, meat.
Fish is common, maybe 3 times a week. Pork, surprisingly, only about once or twice a week. What's really striking is how little sugar and salt they consume compared to mainland Japan, about a third of the sugar, half the salt.
And calories. Are they eating less overall?
Significantly less, around 1,785 calories daily, compared to over 2,000 elsewhere in Japan. This lower calorie intake is a common feature across most blue zones.
Which brings us back to that 80% rule.
Hara Hashibu. Exactly. Stopping eating when you feel about 80% full. It's an ancient practice, roots in 12th century Zen Buddhism, but super practical. Just skip dessert sometimes or use slightly smaller plates.
And eating fewer calories has real benefits.
Huge benefits, as long as you're not malnourished. It's linked to longer life, less lethargy, lower levels of IGF-1, that's a protein linked to aging. Plus, protection against weight gain, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, high blood pressure, heart disease. The list goes on.
Is there an alternative if strict calorie restriction feels too hard?
The source mentions periodic fasting, like the 5.2 diet, as another way to potentially get some similar benefits, cleansing the digestive system.
Beyond calories, what else is key in their diet? Antioxidants.
Antioxidants are crucial. They neutralize free radicals, those unstable molecules that damage cells and contribute to aging.
And the Okinawan diet is packed with them.
Absolutely. The source lists 15 Okinawan superfoods eaten regularly, things like tofu, miso, fish, carrots, goya, that's bitter melon, various seaweeds like kombu and nori, cabbage, onions, soy sprouts.
A lot of plant-based foods and fish.
Definitely. And their tea, sanpincha.
Sanpincha, what's that?
It's a blend of green tea and jasmine flowers, very common in Okinawa. It's credited with benefits like lowering cholesterol, boosting the immune system, reducing stress.
Green tea itself is famously healthy.
Extremely. The source lists tons of benefits: cholesterol, blood sugar, circulation, flu protection, bone health, antibacterial properties, UV protection, cleansing,
Right.
and white tea. Even more potent in antioxidants. 1 cup might be like 12 glasses of orange juice.
12 glasses, that's amazing. Any other standout Okinawan foods?
Yes, the shikawasa. It's a local citrus fruit.
Chikuwasa, okay.
It's incredibly rich in a flavonoid called nobulatin, like 40 times the concentration in oranges. It's linked to protection against artery hardening, cancer, type 2 diabetes, even helps manage weight.
Wow, so for those of us not in Okinawa, What are some easily accessible antioxidant powerhouses?
The source gives a good Western list. Veggies like broccoli and chard, oily fish, citrus fruits, strawberries, apricots, berries in general, dried fruits, whole grains like oats and wheat, olive oil, and even red wine in moderation, of course.
Good to have those options. And what should we try to avoid?
The usual suspects, really. Refined sugars and grains, processed baked goods, highly processed prepared foods, and also cow's milk and its derivatives are mentioned as things to eliminate or reduce significantly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, from the core meaning of Ikigai and its Okinawan roots, through the Western diagram and its misconceptions.
To practical ways to find your own Ikigai for yourself or even your organization.
And finally, diving into the specific lifestyle habits, especially that incredible Okinawa diet that seem to support this philosophy of a long, purposeful life. It really has been a deep dive.
It really has. And it brings us back to that idea that finding Ikigai isn't always a straight line. The source mentions it can take years, even decades, and often reveals itself unexpectedly.
Right. So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder. Given that it can be unexpected, what seemingly unconventional experiences or maybe useless interests from your own past might actually be subtly guiding you towards your unique reason for being.
Mm-hmm. What hidden threads are there?
Yeah, and maybe even more practically, what's one small, spontaneous thing you could do this week? Just because it brings you delight, forget about its purpose for a moment, just pure enjoyment. What might that be?